When you're feeling down and like your world's moving slow, just remember your race. It moves at your pace when marching towards your goals. And brighter than the stars. Don't take impossible. Nothing is impossible. You're brighter than the stars. An angel, 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 soaring like an eagle, eagle, eagle. Nothing is impossible. Don't take impossible. You're brighter than the stars.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talking with 3D. My name is Derrick D. Dixon. I am your host right here on Plush Work TV. And I am excited. We have another exciting guest, Minister MONAYE M Rikard is with me today. And we are going to be talking, she is an author, talking about the book, Free Indeed. And such an inspiring book that I think that everyone out there should get and everyone should read, regardless if you're a man or woman. You know, free indeed, if you just listen to the words of what free indeed, what does that mean to you? What does it resonate to you? And I just want to tell you just a little bit about Minister MONAYE, and just so we can understand a little bit more about her. But I want her to be able to tell her own story, because the journey of how it begins and where she's going with it. So just a little bit about Minister MONAYE. She is a personal power strategist who yielded in the obedience to operate in her ordained purpose and passion for empowering young ladies and women to understand their God-given inner power and self-worth. And I think now in these days and these times, a lot of our young women don't understand what their passion is, don't understand what their power is. And I have said this for quite a while, that we have so many youth out there that go out and protest and march and have their voice being heard. But a lot of times we think of it as being disruptive, as being destructive out in the community. However, if our youth would understand their self-worth and that they are changing the world, the way that we live in the world today, it's so important. And when I hear free indeed, I know that in the book it means something else, but when I hear free indeed, it's free to be you. It's free to understand you. It's free to understand your purpose in life and live it freely. So I am excited to have you. Minister MONAYE, how are you doing today?
I am absolutely amazing. I'm ecstatic to be a part of your show tonight. I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to share, because I did promise the Lord that I would share free indeed on every platform possible.
Yes.
It's Him who got me to the place of freedom. So.
Yes, me and Mr. MONAYE, we met at, there was a book signing. You know, normally you have different type of people coming out selling different type of venues and things like that. And we have the big book signing here at the Palladium. And Mr. MONAYE, I kind of resonated to her table and spoke to her a little bit, something about her book, kind of, you know, my eye drew towards her book. And I just was very interested in your story and interested to know more about, you know, what it meant to be free indeed. So, Mr. MONAYE, tell us just a little bit more about yourself first off.
Absolutely. Well, as you stated very well, that I am a personal power strategist, which is a unique name for a life coach. I'm an author. I'm a mother of two. I'm actually a returning student to school, about to graduate. I'm an entrepreneur. I have so many things. I'm licensed to do interior decorating and wedding coordinating. I have so many things underneath my belt. I utilize all of my gifts and my talents. But most importantly, I am a woman that have endured a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of trauma. But nevertheless, in which I'll talk about within our interview, but nevertheless, it made me and shaped me to be the woman that I am today. So I never regret having to go through, because being vulnerable and having to deal with pain also produces purpose. So I understand that I had to go through those things that I talk about, that I've been free from, and free indeed, because God had a purpose for my life. And so I needed to go through that. And a lot of times we don't want to endure the suffering, but we want what's on the other side of it. And you got to go through the fire. That's how diamonds become clear, and how diamonds are as beautiful as they are is because it goes through the fire. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Yes. You know, you just said a certified life coach, but you say you're a personal power strategist. Tell me more about a personal power strategist and what that means. If someone says, well, you know, what can she do for me? What is that? How does that work?
Absolutely. Well, what I do is, and as coaches, we all know that we're not trained to tell you what to do, but we're there to lead you to make the proper decisions for life. And basically, that's what a personal power strategist is. We come up with strategies that's tailor-made for your personal life, on how you can be a better version of you. What things you need to rid of, those things that you have to realize that has been a hold up and been keeping you in bondage, those things that have been propelling you forward, and those things that you need to help you to soar like an eagle. And so we come up with strategies to help you to do all of that, so that you can become a better version of you, and that you can freely operate in the mandates of God and the things that He's ordained for your life.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break right here, and then we're going to come back, and I want to talk a little bit about those strategies and different things that we can do. So don't go anywhere. You are watching Talking with 3D. This is Real Talk with Real People. I am here with Minister MONAYE Ricard. Don't go anywhere.
I done had enough bad luck. Keep me laughing the rest of my life. Sat in that jail down there by done rot to death. I know what it like, Miss Celie. Wanna go somewhere and can't. I know what it like, wanna sing, have it beat out you. I wanna thank you, Miss Celie, for everything you done for me. I remember that day I was in the store, Miss Millie. I was feeling real down. I was feeling mighty bad. And when I seen you, I know there is a God. I know there is a God. And one day I was going to get to come home.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again. You are watching Talking with 3D right here on Plushwork TV. And we are talking to Minister MONAYE Ricard, and we were talking about being a personal power strategist. When you are a personal power strategist, and say, let's just, you're talking to me right now, and I'm having issues to say as far as maybe things, and this is normally what it is, that things that we have held on to in our childhood. You know, I have realized for myself, and because as you are watching and you are listening, you have to find out what this is for yourself in order to make this work. But for myself, I always didn't understand why, and we'll talk about Bill Cosby, allegedly the assumption of different things that has occurred in his life. And I did not understand why these women would wait years down the road to want to talk about these things. And as I got older, being a victim of sexual abuse, I realized that me personally, I never dealt with it. And now all of a sudden it was surfacing up. I realized some of the ways that I acted, why I didn't have close relations with my male counterparts, and I geared towards more females because I didn't trust the male parts. So talking to you now, what are some of the strategies that you would say, Derrick, this is where you would begin?
Yes. The first, and I'm glad that you asked that question, Derrick, because the first thing that you have to do is be honest with yourself. You have to accept the fact that there is an issue. You have to accept the fact that there is trauma. And a lot of times it's most difficult for people to say, this is what I'm struggling with. Why? Because every time they have to speak it, it brings up that level of pain that they had to deal with when they first dealt with it. And so they don't want to deal with the pain. So what? What do? You not deal with it. And what happens, it begins to deal with you. And so you have to first be honest about the issue. And then you have to accept that it wasn't your fault. You have to accept that those things happen, but you can't take the blame for it. Many a times we go through life and we accept the responsibility of it when it was never our battle to fight from the beginning. That happened not for no fault of our own. And so you have to accept that and forgive you. Forgive yourself, because we'll take the blame for it. I'm not going to take the blame for this. I am not the reason why this happened. It happened because there was an issue with the person that did this pain.
That's good. That's good. So, and I've never thought of it like that. That there is, it's the issue. The issue is not me. The issue is the other person. And when the way that you're saying is the issue is what their issues are.
Exactly.
I didn't cause their issues. Yes. So that's very good, because to this day, I never thought of it as, because you still think, what did I do? Why did I deserve that? What could I have done to change that? But could we have changed their issues? Because they haven't dealt with their issues.
And we can't change anyone. Only God. We cannot change anyone. They have to be willing. It's all about self-work. We have to put the work in ourselves.
Right.
Now, it has to be something that we want to do to be better. So I can't change you. And it's really not my responsibility to change you.
It's not your responsibility.
It's your responsibility.
Yes.
Exactly. And
I'm sorry not to interrupt you, but it's still such a deep thought, is that, it's their issues. We can't change their issues. We can't solve their issues, especially when you're young.
Exactly.
Especially when you're young and this person is an adult. How you can't even manifest the fact that they have issues.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can't really, even when you're young, you can't internalize it. All that you know is that I felt hurt and pain from this. You can't really internalize it because you're too young. Your brain cells is not even gravitating to why it even happened to you. You know what I'm saying? You can't internalize it. And so what you have to do is, many a times we don't speak about it. We're too afraid. We're afraid that we won't be believed. We're afraid that, that there'll really be something that will happen to us if we do speak up, and so we carry those burdens with us throughout our entire lives. And many times we carry them into adulthood.
Yes.
And so we're carrying luggage that's way too heavy, that God never ordained for us to carry. God said, this journey right here was not even meant for you to have to carry these bags. These bags should have been left way back here. But we go into adulthood and we carry those traumas with us. And then they start to deal with us in such ways that it becomes a part of who we are. We act it out in our behavior. We become withdrawn from people, that every person that's a semblance of that person that hurt us is shut down for us. And we have to learn to deal with it. We have to begin to deal with it. And so being honest with yourself and understanding that it wasn't your fault. And this is the kicker. This is so hard for many people to do, and that is to forgive.
Yes.
Because you hurt me.
Yes.
You changed the trajectory of my life.
Yes.
When you did what you did to me when I was 8 or when I was 7 or when I was 12 or a teenager. You changed my life. And now it's hard for me to love and be in certain relationships because of what you did to me. And so you're asking me to forgive you? How dare you do that? But remember, I want to say this, that forgiveness is not about them. It's for you.
It's for you. And people don't understand that, Mr. Monet. They don't understand that the forgiveness is for you. It is not for them, even though you do say, I forgive you. You are forgiving them for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And can you just expand on that a little bit more? Because I'm telling you, there's so many people out there saying, what do you mean that I'm forgiving them for myself? What does that do for me when I say, I forgive you?
I'm going to tell you what it does. It frees you up. It brings freedom and liberty. It helps you to be free indeed. And so it helps you to release those things that have been keeping you bound. Because when we are bottled up and we're in bondage, we can't flow in life, in the things of life like we should, because we're caught in bondage. We're holding on to something that is keeping us bound. And so we're carrying it everywhere we go, from one place to the other. We're dragging it. And then before you know it, it becomes a disability for us.
Right.
And so what you have to do is definitely to release it. Saying I forgive you, that means that I literally am releasing it right in this moment. I forgive you because I need to be able to move forward in my life. And then I don't want to hold up all of the blessings that God has awaiting for me because I forgive you. And guess what? And I'm not being, I don't want to sound sarcastic, but are you really worth my blessings being held up?
That's right. That's right.
You really aren't. And I continue to pray for you and wish well things for you. But what I had to do was in the moment, I had to make sure that I got free. It was important because it became all about me.
Right.
You know, when I was the victim at the time and I wasn't saying anything, it was about you. But once I got free, it became about me.
It became about me. And we are held up in bondage so much, you know, not even necessarily about being abused physically, mentally, verbally. You know, there's so much bondage that we can be held up in. When things happen to you when you're a child, now you become in bondage of your finances. You become in bondage of, you know, relationships and friendships and everything, because you feel entitled that now I have to be a certain way around people because of my mess, because of what I'm carrying around. And we want to put it off on, well, I'm that way because I'm a Capricorn. I'm that way, and don't realize that it's the baggage that I've been carrying around for so long that I've never freed myself from it.
Absolutely.
Listen, we're going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to be talking about the book Free Indeed. And I have some questions about the book, and we've discussed so much, you know, about it, you know, that we've covered. And I really want to get into depth about why you wrote this and some of the chapters, what that meant. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Talking with 3D. I'm here with Dr. Monet, and we're talking about the book author. She's author of the book Free Indeed. So don't go anywhere. This is real talk for real people.
That's where we are right now, Vanessa. We are enraged because we know that you have been to Baltimore, Maryland, with the wretched to have big fun. Big fun. Isn't that what you had, Vanessa? Didn't you have big fun? Well, let's see now. You had donuts. Had donuts in Wilmington, Delaware. Cliff, tell me, have you ever been to Wilmington for donuts?
Not on the weekend.
There she is, sitting up in the local donut shop in Wilmington, Delaware, sipping hot chocolate and eating crumbs, and the car gets stolen. Now, a normal individual with half a gnat's brain would have said, I'm going home now. But you? Oh, no, not you. You and your 3 friends put yourselves on a bus and go joyride off to Baltimore. All the way to Baltimore.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, you are watching Talking with 3D. I am your host, Derrick Dixon, and we are here with Minister MONAYE M RIKARD, and she is the author of the book Free Indeed. She is a personal power strategist, and she empowers young ladies and women to understand their God-given inner power and self-worth. And, you know, a lot of times we do talk about a lot of, you know, because the fact that I am a man, and we talk about men being able to free themselves, because I think a lot of times it's harder for men to trust. It's harder for men to be able to feel like they're in a safe place. I think it's also harder, Minister Monaye, when you are the person that may have been the abuser. So how do you then, you know, go to a life coach or go to a power strategist and say, I'm the abuser? Where do I start? How do I free myself knowing that I did this to somebody? And I've never really had that discussion with anyone for to know, how does the victim become free indeed? Not the victim, the abuser.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're 100% correct, because, women and men are wired totally different. You know, men are logical creatures and we are emotional creatures. So as women, we are more expressive, more communicative, can be, let me say, because there are some, I do know some that are great communicators. However, because the norm for many of those that are abusers, that are taught that men don't cry, saying that straight and tall, that you don't express yourself, be a man, they have put in a box what a man technically is supposed to be, according to society. So a lot of times the abuser doesn't necessarily come forth to say, I need help, until they are pulled to the carpet.
That's right.
A lot of times, if the victim has gone for counseling, and a part of their healing is to pull, sometimes they'll say, well, you have to go back and face that person that abused you. And once the person will hold, the abuser holds it too. Because why? They don't want anybody to know. They don't want to put out there that I'm this technically bad person because I've done this. I have so many victims that's under my belt because of the things that I've done to offend them, to hurt them, and bring trauma to them. So nobody wants to have to accept that. But when the victim is coming to get help, a lot of times they'll have to go back in order for you to forgive, if that person is alive. Because some people say, well, can I just silently forgive? I think it's more crucial for you to go back and face that person. Because I feel like you're going back to face the issue, to say, I'm strong enough now to revisit this thing and say, listen, you hurt me, but I forgive you. And a lot of times the abuser at that point generally steps in and say, oh, okay, well, either they may acknowledge it or sometimes they may not. Why? Because they may not be ready. Right. They may not be ready, to face it.
It may not be ready. And that's okay. That's okay, because the fact that we can't force them to be ready. We can't force them to accept our forgiveness. They don't even understand why we're saying, I forgive you. Right. I'm not asking you for my forgiveness, but I'm letting you know I forgive you. I forgive you. So Minister Monaye, tell us why it was important for you to write Free Indeed.
Well, because as a minister, the Lord said that my calling is to women, young ladies and women. And God said to me, you've gone through so many things in your life that I've allowed you to go through, and you went through them. You are a victorious over them. So I need you to go back and share your testimonies to help other women to get free, because that's really what I'm called to help young ladies and women to become free. And so in order to do that, I had to share my story. Now, did I want to share it? Because I'm pretty raw in my book. But did I want to share it? Absolutely not. But I had no choice. I had no choice to share it, but because God said, I needed you to be authentic and transparent. That's the only way freedom is going to come, when you be honest about, don't leave no details out, give the specifics, because they need to know every part of what you had to go through to get to where you are. Because I need nothing else. I need them to see me through all of this, that it is possible for you to be victorious over trauma, over molestation, you know, over all of the issues that you have to do, abandonment, you know, all of those things, trust issues, all of those things. It is possible to overcome those things. Why? Because the word said we are overcomers. And so because of that, then we have to understand that there's nothing that we can't overcome. And we don't go through things just because. There's always a purpose for everything that we have to go through. And the purpose really is not even about us. It's about all the people that are connected to us.
Let me ask you this, Minister MONAYE, because you sit here and you're well-spoken and very well poised. So someone will sit there and say, what do you mean she's been abused? How was she abused? How is it that you don't wear your abuse?
Because I dealt with it. Because I dealt with it. And we all know that we go through a lot. And as believers, we are not supposed to look like what we've been through.
Yes.
Because then that means we're looking like the world, and we're not to look like everybody else, because we are supposed to be ambassadors and witnesses for the power of God. So for me, the way I'm able to get through it and not wear it is because I've dealt with it, because I'm free. Oh, there's a look that you have when you're free.
Yes.
It's a look that you have when you're free, and free indeed on top of that. When you're bound in bondage, there's a look that you have as well. And so when you release that stuff and you let it go, wow, your skin becomes brighter and lighter. Your walk is diverish, as I call it.
Yes.
You walk stride and poise, and your head is lifted up. And it's nothing that you don't believe that you cannot conquer. So that freedom piece is so important. It's so important.
Wow. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I got to do this real quick. We're going to watch just a quick something on just being, getting information if you have been abused. So please don't go anywhere. Stay right there. And we're watching Talking with 3D.
Operator 901, where's the emergency?
127 Brynmere.
Okay, what's going on there?
I'd like to order a pizza for delivery.
Ma'am, you've reached 911. This is an emergency line.
Large with half pepperoni, half mushrooms.
You know you've called 911. This is an emergency line.
How long it'll be?
Okay, ma'am, is everything okay over there? Do you have an emergency or not?
Yes.
And you're unable to talk because...
Right.
Is there someone in the room with you? Just say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like I have an officer about a mile from your location. Are there any weapons in your house?
No.
Can you stay on the phone with me?
No. See you soon. Thank you.
Nowhere in the corridors of pale green and gray, nowhere in the suburbs in the cold light of day. There in the midst of it, so alive and alone, words support like bone. Dreaming of Mercy Street, where you're inside out. Dreaming of mercy.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with author, Minister MONAYE M Rikard, and about the book Free Indeed. I want to get into, I know we're not going to be able to get into all the chapters, but we're going to just talk about some of the chapters. I want to talk about the very first one, because that's what we have been talking about, is the power of forgiveness. And in the chapter, you detail how the pain of your mother's absence plagued you. And, you know, a lot of times we don't understand that what we've gone through with our parents is such a stigma on our lives as we grow up. And you just, reading through a little bit of the chapter, knowing that your mother passed away almost immediately after you prayed to God to release your ill feelings towards your mother, did that ever make the forgiveness hard for you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I felt that I had done what I was supposed to do.
Okay.
And I felt like I was being given time. The Lord was giving me time to be able to forgive, to show her that I had forgiven her. And she could have been waiting to transition, but she couldn't transition until I had done my part. And so the transition came right immediately after. Like it was a shock to me, absolutely, because she had dealt with ovarian cancer. So she passed away literally a couple days after coming home. So I did not realize that it was going to be that quick and that soon. But nevertheless, I was free with that because I had done everything that I could possibly have done to try to build a relationship with my mother, even pull back. Because some people don't understand that sometimes you need to pull back from situations and let people mature, people grow, and then see if those relationships can be severed at that point in time. But our relationship had become toxic because she was toxic.
Okay.
She was a drug, she was addicted to drugs. So a lot of what she was dealing with was the demons of drug addiction. And so when I sat and I actually stopped looking at me, because sometimes we put, woe is me, this is happening to me. And I'm not saying to negate that. But once I sat in a quiet place and I said, let me just look at the totality of it. She's not just struggling with the relationship with you. She's struggling with relationships, period, because the drug is more important to her than anything else.
Right.
So I had to realize that, but it was after a while of going through from childish, because she didn't raise me. My grandmother and my oldest aunt, which is her sister, and her mom are the two that raised me. But I thank God, because I look at the difference between my brother being reared by her and I being reared by my grandmother and aunt, and the lifestyle, the things that I was able to engage in, the things and the opportunities that I was able to embrace because of having a spiritual rearing and background. And two women that was there. And my dad, of course, my father was always there. So very close to my dad. I'm a daddy's girl.
Okay.
But my mom, our relationship was always estranged. And a lot of times people would say, you struggle in the relationship with your mom because your mom struggles with you because she tries so much to emulate you.
Gotcha.
Those are things that she see in you that she so desired to wish she had in herself, when all she just had to be was who she was.
Right.
Because that's what I was looking for. And even though you have, you're blessed to have, I was blessed to have a grandmother and an aunt. I had double rearing, which was wonderful. But it's nothing like the biological, because that's not, even though they're in the bloodline.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm the seed of my mother. And so I absolutely loved them when they were living, but I yearned for that connection from which I was the seed of. And so people don't really understand that, they said, well, you have a wonderful grandmother, a wonderful aunt. Yes, I did.
Yes.
But I still yearned for that relationship with my mother.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like when my father passed away. My father was, to me, was a wonderful man. He could not do any wrong, and he wasn't into drugs or anything like that. My father wasn't, there in my life a lot growing up. I was raised in a single home, but, by my mother. She raised 3 boys on her own. And when my father passed away, it was like so much of me was gone, because I wanted to know so much more about who my father was. Why do I act the way I act? Why do I look just like him? Do I act like him? So what you're saying is so surreal because of the fact that it's the seed that we come from. We've been brought up by some great people that have taught us well, that have meant so much to us, but you want to know that seed in you. That's what's important. Was it hard for your family? Because to me, this is like telling a tell-all real life story. Was it hard for your family to read the book and relive a lot of what you talk about in the book?
Absolutely.
And I have a two-parter. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did they even know that you went through a lot of what you talk about in the book?
Most of it they did not. Like my daughter, she read and she said, Mom, I never would have thought that she went through that because you masked it so well. And being reared by two women that were very strong women, but they were also, I call them in the book, I was raised by wolves because they was tough. They were literally tough. And unfortunately, the tough side of it, they projected on me. That's what I saw, right? So, and I realized that it was because it was hurt that they was covering, that they had not done. That's why they were so tough. Like, things like put your big girl drawers on and stand up.
Suck it up.
Suck it up.
Yeah.
Don't make sure you can do everything for yourself. And when you have a man, he's an added to what you can do. And you make sure you stay in the driver's seat. And I'm saying to myself, but what about the man being the head of the relationship? In the marriage, what about all of that? I don't want to be in the driver's seat. I want to be in the seat I'm supposed to be in.
Right.
But for them, because they hadn't dealt with their hurt and pain, that was the way they chose to matriculate through life. And so for the longest time, that's the way I did also. And so until I dealt with my whole abandonment piece, because I went through abandonment, and with abandonment and trust, they aren't friends.
Right.
So I was, not only did I go through abandonment, but I had trust issues. Because every time I would allow my mother to come back into my life, because I was so excited about us trying to form the relationship, then she would do something to leave. And so that made me have trust issues. I would be vulnerable to you coming back because this is something that was near and dear to me. But then as soon as you do that, then you depart.
Right.
And then there's a period of time, or when you did come, there was a whole bunch of drama. And me and drama are not friends. We don't work well together.
Right.
So I will remove myself. When I see all of that drama. So I had to kind of pull back. And I want to let people know that pulling back is not a bad thing, because that's also healthy for you.
That's
Why
right.
stay somewhere where it's toxic, where there's a lot of drama? That's added pressure. Pressure on top of the trauma that you're already, in the pain that you're already dealing with. So I chose to pull back. And she would come back. But the most important thing for me through all of this was that I prayed that the Lord would save her. And God honored my prayer. And so that was most important to me. If the relationship had never severed ties again, if we never built or expound upon anything, I knew that she had a relationship with God. And I knew at some point in time that would convict her at some point to say, I need to do better as a mother. But the only thing with that was that she was still struggling. So, I'm saying, okay, I'm introducing you. And she was, as long as we had a period where we were in relationship, she was going to church and, all of that. But then no soon as something happened traumatically in her life, then she would go back to that which was familiar, that which made her feel good temporarily. And then that separated us all over again. So, it was a vicious cycle.
Yeah. In chapter 4, you talk about a nervous breakdown for a spiritual breakthrough. And you share how the choices, your husband and your first marriage affected you negatively that, you know, did you ever look back? Do you look back now and wish that, you know, you went through something where you were so depressed, you was in a dark place, the world was out of control, you called your job and to get some help? Do you look back and then wish that you could have stayed at Shepherd Pratt, that you went to Shepherd Pratt for a time as to a therapist? And did you want to, how do you recall that should you stayed at that place, or how did you move on? Why did you move on?
Well, absolutely not. If I went to Shepherd Pratt, it would be because I was going there as a therapist, but not to stay there. Because that really, I say a spiritual breakthrough, because really God was transitioning me at that point. I couldn't see it because the pain was so deep, and I was crying out. You know, when you have a nervous breakdown, you're really out of self.
Right.
Like when I had the breakdown at work, I was not even clear that I was screaming in the bathroom, in the stall. I did not even know all of this was going on until I had actually gotten to Shepherd Pratt. So I was really, really glad that I did not stay. My father-in-law at the time released me against medical records. So that was AMR. And he came strongly stating that there's enough family members, praying family members, that can help pray her through this situation. I do not think that she needs to be in a mental institution.
Right.
And the more I started looking at, and I laugh at this now because I talked to the therapist and I told him, I said, well, if I stay here, I'm not crazy, but if I stay here, I'm a bit crazy.
I'm gonna become crazy. Right. Right.
So they said, well, don't say that. The people are here, they are crazy. They're challenged. Okay, call it what you want, but I know what I see.
Right.
You know? But nevertheless, me being there, I think, or me leaving, should I say, I think was the best decision that I could have made, because it allowed me to heal, but just healing just me and God. I was in a place where, you know, God could really get all of my attention and help me heal day by day. Yeah, so being there, leaving there was probably the best decision.
Yes. Listen, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with author Minister MONAYE, and we're talking about the book Free Indeed. There's chapters in the book, The Power of Forgiveness. It's not about the cover, it's about the content. I'm not every woman, I'm just one woman. We're just talking about a nervous breakdown for a spiritual breakthrough. Also, the paradox of control. I am who God says I am. The truth will set you free. Also, the diagnosis. The diagnosis is how you process your healing, your wholeness from breast cancer, and came by the way of God's miracle power through unwavering faith. Just share a little bit about that process. What was the faith? Did you fear did fear ever try to creep in when you were going through the diagnosis?
It tried to creep in, but I must say that God will always give you what you need to go through the journey and through the process. So before entering into it, he said, try my servant MONAYE. Like he said, try my servant Job. He said, try my servant MONAYE.
Yes.
So my pastor had actually began doing a series on faith. And so, you know, when you are hearing the word, you're digesting the word, you're going to be tested on the word.
Yes.
And when you say, I want to live by faith and not by sight. And so as a women's director of the women's ministry, I was tested first.
Okay.
What better person to test than the leader, right?
Right.
So I was very shocked because I am a person that is very, very meticulous and concerned about my look and all. And I looked in the mirror one day, and when I first got the diagnosis, and I said, I'm about to look different, God. I can't believe that I'm going through breast cancer, because even though cancer was running all through my maternal side of the family, I had to help take care of 3 family members with cancer, with actually several forms of cancer. And I am declaring and decreeing that it wasn't going to hit my body. And then I'm diagnosed.
Yes.
And so I'm like, God, I you to explain that to me because I'm saying that it's not going to hit me because I'm doing all the things I needed to medically
Right,
to make
right.
sure that it wouldn't. And then the Holy Spirit said to me that it's not about you. It's about the women that will be attached to your faith.
Wow.
And so I need you to walk through this process in faith. And
Wow.
so the first day was the first day I got the diagnosis, I broke down.
Okay.
That was the only day I cried. Every day throughout the process, when I went to St. Joseph's Breast Cancer Center, they was like, oh, here comes sunshine. You just brighten up the day. You're brightening up the room when you come in. Because I'm talking and laughing. Come on, y'all, let's have our meeting. I got, at the time I was doing hosting my own radio show. I said, I got to get back to a radio show. I got all this stuff going on over here. I need us to sit down, have our meeting so we can decide what we're going to do. So right. I literally had that same attitude from the beginning to the end. And when I tell you, I was supposed to be stage 4 invasive cancer. I was stage 0 non-invasive.
Wow. Wow.
And so having to have a mastectomy, and then I did also, because I didn't have a choice because the whole breast was filled with cancer. But they said this is a miracle as well. They said that they don't know how long I was carrying it.
Wow. They
said it had to be for some years.
Yes.
And genetically, doing the genetic testing, they said we tested, and God always used me as either the first time something is happening or it's the last thing on the shelf waiting for me. But they did genetic testing of 78 chromosomes. They had never done that before. They only did 36 chromosomes. They did 78, and they said, nowhere does it say positive in your genetic testing. It's all negative. So the blessing to that is that it stopped with me. So my children won't because it stopped with me. So it's so many miraculous things that God did through that whole entire process. And I said, Lord, I promise you that I'm going to tell the world because they need this power.
Yes. Listen, we are running out of time. Minister MONAYE, tell everybody where that they can find the book, Free Indeed.
Absolutely. It was on my website, but my actual website designer is rebranding because I have so many facets and she wants to put them all under one umbrella. So it's under construction right now. So if you want to purchase the book, just inbox me. And I'm on Facebook under MONAYE Rikard. I'm under Instagram under MONAYE Rikard. I'm under LinkedIn. You can find me under either one of those and inbox me, and I can be able to, if you want to purchase it, then you can either Cash App me, Venmo me, Zelle me, and then I can ship it out to you.
So just go on Facebook, any social media, go on Facebook and look up MONAYE Rikard, MONAYE. I'm sorry, MONAYE. MONAYE Rikard, RIKARD. Make sure that you look her up on Facebook. The book is called Free Indeed. Let me ask you this one quick. We got about 30 seconds. How did you become free indeed?
How did I become free indeed? I consciously dealt with my pain, and I dealt with it over time. So don't think it's a quick fix. It's not favorable. It's a process. So I dealt with each thing bit by bit, and it doesn't all change at one time. So when you deal with one thing, then you didn't have to deal with another because many times they are interrelated. So yeah, I dealt with my pain and my trauma, and I was determined that I was going to get free. And whatever it looked like at the finish line, I was going to make it there. So.
Yes. And becoming free, ladies and gentlemen, becoming free, it's just like a book. There's different chapters, there's different levels. And you may have to go through several chapters in order to get to that finish line. But the finish line is for you. Finish line is not for anyone else. It is for you. So you rejoice when you get to that finish line. Know your power of forgiveness. Minister MONAYE, I want to thank you so much for coming on Talking with 3D and just being vulnerable about your story. I want everyone to go out, get the book, Free Indeed. Make sure that you go on Facebook, Instagram, and look up Minister MONAYE Rikard and get the book, inbox her so you can get the book, Free Indeed. Thank you so much for coming on.
Quite welcome. You are
forward to having many more conversations with you as well.
Yes, absolutely. Likewise. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank
Yes, yes. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you always check out Plushwork TV. Make sure that you do that. Also, I want you to check out, there's a stage play that is coming up right here, Baltimore, Maryland. It's called Chosen, August 20th, Chosen. Make sure that you check that out. You can go to www.respectmyroyalty.com to find out more about it. Listen, I got to get out of here. Be here next Wednesday, 7 p.m. right here, talking with 3D. My name is Derrick D. Dixon. Go out and have a great evening, and make sure that you understand your power of forgiveness. Have a great night.
When you're feeling down and like your world's moving slow, just remember your race. It moves at your pace when marching towards your goals.